welcome Rich to today's show, as it were. Obviously, IFC massively high profile in terms of initial news flow, just getting going, and it's our privilege to have Rich here to talk about the nitty gritty, the sort of the how do you start this and how do you build this from scratch, which is quite extraordinary, and also within a large sovereign nation. If you think of previous IFCs around the world, quite a lot of them are small places without the baggage of a whole nation operating around it. So it's a very challenging time for Rich. Rich is ex-country director of the Tony Blair Institute for a number of years here, ex-McKinsey as well, so super high qualified, super bright guy, and has been given a really big job. So welcome, Rich. Over to you.
Vietnam is having a golden moment. You look at anywhere else in the world and you don't see sort of the positiveness and the trajectory that you see here. Globally, there's a lot of political and geopolitical uncertainty right now, which means that it's likely that capital is going to be shifting. And so it's a very special investment thesis that Vietnam has. VIFC, in a nutshell, is sort of an offshore regulatory zone for finance. We also have a completely different regulatory system for financial services inside this zone.
In Vietnam, where there is so much going on, this is ambitious stuff, and to operate this and get it going, there is so much happening in Vietnam, so much at government level. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about living in that sort of environment? And do you feel that that you are front of mind, I suppose, or sufficiently front of mind? Or can you get front of mind quickly when you need it to get a decision?
We're seeing things change at lightning speed in Vietnam right now. This is, I think, one of the effects of being in an environment that is, it's a consensus-driven environment, and it's an environment that basically nothing happens until 93% of the room agrees, and then it happens at a pace that's unthinkable.
How ring-fenced is that? If you're doing an agreement within IFC with an IFC member and you're a domestic Vietnamese corporate or whatever, is that written down, that at that point of agreement the contract says this is under international law, or at some point can you go appeal, I want to go back to Vietnamese law? In the niceties of it,
yeah.
come a dispute. How tight is that?
There are mechanisms, though, built into that decree that allow, that parties within VIFC, when they sign a contract, they can opt out of any options for appeals. So that can be written in as a first point of contract, that it won't have the option to kick into the Vietnamese system. And I think that was a pretty important point for us as we were pushing the policies.
Do you want to talk us through what a sandbox is and how you would see that working in IFC?
A sandbox is a clever mechanism for, we're not quite ready to regulate this yet. We don't really know how to. So let's come up with a solution so that we don't just simply miss the opportunity for this particular new innovation. So it's generally when something new and exciting comes up that's never been thought about before. So for many years, fintech was have all the sandboxes. Now AI is another space where there's a lot of sandbox regulations put in place. It's almost like a placeholder for real laws. Like you just say, okay, we're not quite ready yet. We'll give permission for certain companies, and usually with a sandbox, the company will come to you and will say to you, here's the thing I really want to do. And you say, okay, that sounds really interesting. I'm going to give you permission to do that for the next 3 years.
People buy products. They're lazy. They'll be interested and they'll nibble and they'll ask what you're doing. But if you don't give an on-a-plate product, whether it's tokenization of funds or it's whatever, I don't know what it is, where's your product head? Are you thinking of vehicles that people can go, oh yes, I can sign up to that, bang. Because inventing it themselves, they're lazy. People that generally are lazy, I think. What do you think on product?
That's exactly where we're going. The day that we do, right, we can do a first use case with one big exciting deal, some company that really wants to do X, right? Get that thing across the line, and then in this culture, in the business environment in Vietnam, very good at copy pasting. Once they've seen, oh, here's a way to make money, then wash, rinse, repeat, right? So my objective is to get the first 1 or 2 deals done in each of these 3 product areas, because then I feel like it'll propel itself. It'll snowball all by itself. I just need to pick the right areas where we're going to do.